Okay, so I think this is visible to everybody now. Yes, yes, everybody
Yes,
is
sir.
visible as.
Yes,
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. So no doubt about the thing. One second, we'll move further. Okay. So today's concept will be one will be the keyword called as a final, and today we'll be talking about the polymorphism. I think I am audible to everybody now. Yes. Shall we move further?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yes, sir.
Now today we will be talking about the keyword like final. Now this is most important because there is no constant keyword being used in Java. So we can use this final keyword with your variables, with your methods also, and with your class also. Now there are some questions whenever we are talking. One second. There are always some questions. There are always some questions in the mind of the students whenever they are talking, working with this final keyword. Is final method, the method which we have declared as final, can we inherit him? The question we will be giving an answer today. What is exactly what we call as a blank final variable? What is exactly blank final variable? We'll be having discussion on static blank final variable also. Then what is final parameter, and can we declare a final constructor? Now this type of questions answers will be given in today's session. Okay, shall we proceed now? Is everyone there now?
yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is the meaning of final keyword? Again, I'm telling that there is no constant keyword in Java. We have to use some keyword like this one. So, final is one of the keyword among the 48 keywords, and it is used for the purpose of restricting the user. Now, what is to restrict? That is most important. Now, by using Java final keyword, you can use it to multiple ways also. Multiple ways matlab kya? You can apply your final keyword to the variable. You can apply your final keyword to the methods, that is a function, and also we can apply the final keyword to the class also. So each one has its own importance. When to go for variable with final, when to go for method, and when to go for class as a final. Now final keyword can be applied with the variable what we have seen. The final variable can have no values. This is called as a blank final variable. So if a final variable do not have any value, matlab we have not assigned any value, that type of variable is called as a blank final variable. This question is asked in interview basically. Okay, so what is blank final variable? So I will be highlighting with color so that you should understand. A final variable that has no value is called as a blank final variable, or we can call it as uninitialized final variable also. Okay, so it can be initialized in the constructor only. This is the rule you have to maintain, that is, if you want to initialize it, you can initialize only in the constructor. Otherwise, we'll have an example on this, how to work with this one. So the blank final variable can be a static also, which also be initialized in the static block only. So if we are saying any variable that is final and we are saying static also, so how to initialize it, मतलब उसको वैल्यू हम रन टाइम में कैसे दे सकते हैं? दैट इज वी हैव टू डिक्लेयर अ स्टैटिक ब्लॉक. ये क्या है वो भी हम एग्जांपल में देखेंगे आज. ओके, so we will have to declare a learning of this. So let us go into basics of a final. Now as we have gone into detail, that is a final keyword, it has some restriction. Why we go for final keyword? So if you don't want your variable to change the value, we go for variable with the start final. If you don't want your function to be overridden, that is your subclass should not use that function, you want to stop the user, that is a child class, to access a method, you can go for final. And if you don't want your class to get inherited by any other class, you can restrict the class, that is parent class, with final keyword. Are you clear with this? The three ways we can stop the use of a variable, a method and a class. यानी हम लोगों को restrict कर सकते हैं हमने जो लिखा हुआ कोड, या फिर वेरिएबल या फिर मेथड और ये कोई क्लास होगा तो उसको हमें आगे यूज नहीं करने देना है. इन दो सिचुएशन वी आर यूजिंग दिस फाइनल कीवर्ड. इज इट क्लियर everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now first point we will be talking about the final variable. Now what is this Java final variable? So if you want any variable, if you declare any variable as final, what you will be doing, that is you will not allow, so that you cannot change the value of the final variable. ये ध्यान में रखना. That means it will be constant. there is no constant keyword. So to make the variable constant, you have to use this final keyword. For example, I will just move for the example now. Small example we'll be having. Now in this example, we are declaring a class. We are declaring a class called as a bike, and we have declared one variable called as speed limit, and we have assigned some value. And if I'm saying final before the declaration of the variable, it means in a runtime, if I'm using this one, if I try to change the value of this variable, that is speed limit, to some another, it will not be allowed, because this value cannot be changed once we have added a final keyword in front of it. So if you try to write this type of code, what will happen is that you will be generating an error called as a compile time error. So this will not be allowed if you are declared the variable and again you are assigning the value at any situation. This will not be allowed. Is it clear to you? If you go for writing this type of code, you will be getting a compile time error. This is not allowed once the final is given. Yes, everyone is getting or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
ओके, नेक्स्ट वन, जैसे हमने वेरिएबल को अगर मैंने बोल दिया फाइनल, अगर मैंने गलती से कोई मेथड को फाइनल बोल दिया, इफ आई एम यूजिंग दिस कीवर्ड इन फ्रंट ऑफ द नेम ऑफ मेथड, सो इन दिस एग्जांपल लेट अस सी, वी हैव क्रिएटेड अ क्लास कॉल्ड एज अ बाइक, we have created a function called as a run, but here I am using the keyword called as final in front of the name of the function. Now if I inherit this class, that is bike class, into my regular, that is child class Honda, and the name of function is same, run function, I am doing polymorphism, that is function overriding. Okay, this is called as function overriding. मतलब वही function को हम use कर रहे upper class से lower class में. Now in this situation this will not be allowed, because जैसे हमने उस दिन पढ़ा था, the syntax of the declaration should be same, but if you are adding a final keyword, this will be generating a compile time error, because once you have said that this is final, it will never been reused. उसको हम फिर से हमारे नीचे वाले कोड में उसको यूज नहीं कर सकते. This is not allowed. So if you are doing this one, this will be in compile time error. So this is not allowed. Whenever you are already declared and you have used this final keyword, it will not allow this function to be inherited into your child class. So this is not allowed, and you will be again getting the error called as compile time error. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everyone is getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now third one, if I declare this final keyword to my class, तो पहले इसमें हमने वेरिएबल को फाइनल लगा के देखा. ओके, दिस वन वी हैव यूज दिस फाइनल कीवर्ड टू वेरिएबल, हमने देखा एरर जनरेट होता है अगर रीयूज कर रहे. इफ यू आर एडिंग टू द मेथड, वहाँ पर भी एरर जनरेट हो रहा है अगर हम इसको रीयूज कर रहे. इफ आई गो फॉर राइटिंग अ फाइनल कीवर्ड फॉर अ क्लास, व्हाट विल हैपन देन? So for example, I have created a class called as a bike, and I am restricting the person to get used. So I just have used this final. So no one should use it as far as the definition. So if I try to write the code that will be implementing this class into my Honda 1 class with the keyword called as extend, then what will happen is that there will be an error because we have written this final. So we will be getting an output like this, compile time error. Okay, so are you clear with this? So if you want people to restrict from using your classes, you can say final, that's it. So if you are saying final, automatically it will not allow to use this class by inheriting with using extend keyword. Okay, so is this examples clear with you? This will never run because this is a compile time error, because this syntax will not be acceptable by Java virtual machine. Is it okay to everybody now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now there is a question been asked, हर बार एक क्वेश्चन पूछा था, is a final method inherited? क्या हम फाइनल मेथड, यानी अगर आपने कोई फंक्शन लिखा होगा, क्या आप उसको इनहेरिट कर सकते? Now see how to do this. The answer is very simple, it is yes. You can inherit the method. Now thing you have to keep in mind is that whenever I have declared any class like this one, bike, and I have written some function with final keyword into the run, this is the function I have written with final keyword, what will happen if I try to extend this class, this will accept, and if I want to run this function, it will be runnable. मैं उसको run कर सकता हूँ. It's very simple. I will be creating object of the class, that is a child class, and I directly will call this function because this is final, so directly the function will be called. I can call the method which is final in the super class with uh, but you cannot override. This is one thing you have to keep in mind. Override मतलब क्या, ये मैं ऐसा इसको ऐसा कॉपी करके मेरे लोअर क्लास के अंदर मैं लिख नहीं सकता. आई कैनॉट राइट दिस लाइक दिस. Okay, so I cannot write like this. So if I try to override this, this will not be acceptable, this because this is going for overriding. Are you clear with this one? This is not possible, so I am putting a comment over there. This is not possible, but if you want to use this, you can call this function. Okay, so this is the simple example I want to tell. This question is asked in interview, that's why we have gone into detail. Okay, now second question, what is blank or uninitialized final variable? This is asked in interviews. Basically, what is blank or uninitialized final variable? Definition is very simple. A final variable that is not initialized at the time of declaration is called as a blank final variable. मतलब इनिशियलाइजिंग के समय ही उसको अगर कुछ वैल्यू अगर हमने नहीं दी होंगी, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अनइनिशियलाइज. बट ध्यान में रखना, द वेरिएबल शुड बी फाइनल, तभी हम उसको बोल सकते इट इज uninitialized final variable. If you are not using final keyword, then this will not be an uninitialized final variable. Okay, so we'll go for small example in this small example. Now see, now this is uninitialized final variable. I have created a class, and into this class I have used this function keyword called as a final, and I have created one variable called as pan card with the string data types. Okay, so this is string that will be maintaining your variable called as a pan string, that is pan card number. So if I am saying final, this means it is blank final variable. Is it clear to everybody? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now one more question, that is, can we initialize blank final variable? अगर मैंने इसको डिक्लेयर कर दिया और उसके सामने फाइनल बोल दिया, क्या इसके अंदर में आगे जाके कहाँ पर तो भी वैल्यूज असाइन कर सकते हो क्या कोई फंक्शन के अंदर? ऐसा जैसे मेरे को इसको कुछ वैल्यूज देना है, सो आई कहाँ पर तो भी कोड में जाके मैं उसको ऐसा करके कुछ वैल्यूज दे सकता हूँ क्या? कुछ ए एस डी एफ डी.
No.
ओके.
No, sir.
No, if it is like this, then question the answer is yes again. Now the option being provided is very simple. We can do this, but only in constructor. The answer is yes. We can initialize a blank final. I am talking about the blank final variable. Blank final variable can be initialized, yes, but it will be initialized only in the constructor. No function can initialize it. This is you have to keep in mind. Same example, we'll do this one. Now this here I have declared a variable into the class called as a back. So I am highlighting with the name of the class as bike 10, and one more variable called as a speed limit. Now this is blank variable because I have not assigned, and this is blank final keyword variable because I have added final keyword in before the name of this variable. Okay, now I have not assigned some value. Now at the runtime I want to assign some value like 70 to the variable called as a speed limit, and I have made it final in the declaration. This can be done, but the term and conditions are very simple. It should be done within the constructor. It should be done within the constructor, then only the program will be assigning the value of speed limit 70, and when I run this program, automatically you will get an output like this one, 70. Yes, is it clear to everybody? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so final blank final variable can be assigned value, but the rule is very simple. It should be declared, the value should be assigned only in the constructor. That's it. Okay, shall I move further now? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now static blank final variable. Static. Now if I am using the static in front of the name of the blank variable, final variable, what will happen? What will happen? Same example. If a static final variable that is not initialized at the time of declaration is known as static blank. ध्यान में रखना, a static final variable I am talking about. If it is not initialized, अगर हमने उसको initialize नहीं किया होगा पहले कोड में, then at the time of declaration, then we call that type of variable as static blank final variable. Okay, so two keywords will be using into this. One will be the static keyword and another will be the final keyword. This is how we are declaring it. Okay, अगर मैंने इसको declare कर दिया, it will be like this: static final, and the name of the variable is integer. So whenever I want to assign the value to the static blank final variable, I have to write it into a static block. This is what is written. It can be initialized only in static block. It can be initialized only in the static blocks. And what is static blocks? This is the declaration of static blocks. A static word, this is what the keyword, this is what we call as a block. Okay, this is called as a block. So into block I can use this variable and I can assign the value to the variable. But thing you have to use, if it is static final, then you have to write static block, then only the values will be assigned. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Rest of the student?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Now next question, what is final parameter and how to declare it? Final parameter. Okay, if I write a final into my parameter, parameter मतलब क्या, जो function के अंदर लिखा होता है. If you declare any parameter as final, you cannot change the value of it. You cannot change value of it. For example, I have created a class called as bike 11 and I have declared one function called as a cube, and उसके अंदर मैंने एक इंटीजर वेरिएबल लिया है, दैट इज INTN. बट उसके सामने मैंने अगर यहाँ पर एक कीवर्ड यूज किया है फाइनल, देन n इज इक्वल टू n प्लस टू. मतलब जो हम कुछ वैल्यू यहाँ से भेजने वाले 5 नंबर को, अगर ये 5 यहाँ पर आ गया, आई एम सेइंग 5 प्लस 2 मतलब 7, 7 into 7 into 7. If I am doing some operation, it cannot be changed. That is, once you have used it, n value, that is 5, cannot be incremented to 7. This will, if you are doing like this, there will be a compile time error. You cannot work with any arithmetic operator with that variable. This can be passed, but you cannot work, or you cannot do some mathematical or arithmetic operations with this variable. This is not allowed. You cannot do this because it is already declared as final, and you can put it into a parameter also. So if I'm using into parameter, then it should not be manipulated with any other operators like this one. So if you try to do this one, it will be generating an error called as a compile time error. Is it clear to everybody? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And last question, can we declare a constructor final? Answer is no. We cannot declare any constructor as final. This is not allowed. Okay, this is what this the final keyword is. So are you clear with the final keyword? We have talked about the final keyword, and I think we have gone through all the examples that we have uh, talked at the start of the session. Okay, so are we getting all the questions? So can we declare a final constructor? Your answer, yes or no? Tell me.
No.
No, sir.
No. Okay.
No, sir.
And can we change or manipulate the values of final parameter?
No, sir.
No.
No. Yes. And can we declare or reassign the value to the static blank final variable?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And
Yes.
how? How?
Using static block.
Using static block. Using static block. And can we use blank final variable for initialization? क्या हम उसको वैल्यू को, ब्लैंक फाइनल वेरिएबल को वैल्यू को रीअसाइन कर सकते हैं?
Yes, sir. Using
Yes,
constructor.
yes. How? Yes, how? How?
Using
Using
constructor.
Using
constructor.
constructor. That's it. Very good. Yes. So this I have put it, and this will be sent it to you after the completing this lecture. So we'll move further now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we'll go for polymorphism now. Okay. Polymorphism is one of the feature of what we call as object oriented programming. Polymorphism, everywhere there is a question been asked, what is polymorphism, what is polymorphism? Can anyone tell me what is polymorphism? You have learned into undergraduation. What is polymorphism then? What is polymorphism?
Many form.
Poly means many.
Many.
Form
Morphism
means
मतलब form. Now
form.
which polymorphism मतलब what forms? Forms of classes or form of variable or form of methods. Okay, this is a feature. Reusability is one of the key in what you call as feature of what you call as Java programming. And here the polymorphism is basically when we talk about the performance, we can perform these operations in very different ways because we have done function overloading and function overriding that comes under the technique called as polymorphism. Now, as far as the declaration, what you call the definition is concerned, it is being created with two Greek words, actually the poly and morphism. Now, poly stands for many, and morph stands for forms. So, many forms you can do it. This is called as a polymorphism. Now, what to do this one? Now, in Java, there are two types of polymorphism. You have to keep in mind. Now, in Java, there are two types of polymorphism. One is called as, now this you have to keep in mind. One is called as compile time polymorphism, and second one is called as runtime polymorphism. Can anyone know what is this compile time polymorphism? Does anyone knows? Yes, does anyone knows what is
Overloading,
compile time and what is runtime polymorphism?
overloading and overriding of functions.
Okay, no one. Shall I explain then? Does anyone knows what is compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism? Yes,
Compile time polymorphism is method overloading and runtime polymorphism is method overriding.
yes. I'm not getting. You just speak loudly. Yes.
Compile time polymorphism is method overloading and runtime polymorphism is method overriding.
Okay. Okay. Let us see. Let us see. We'll go into detail. So we can perform polymorphism in Java by different the methods. We have already gone to the concept called as a function overloading and function overriding. So these two keywords we have already seen in the previous session. And this two things is only what we call as a polymorphism. Now we need to go for categorizing what is runtime polymorphism, what is compile time polymorphism. So if you overload a static method in Java, again I am saying if we overload a static method in Java, it is the example of compile time polymorphism. Static method, if it is overloaded, it is called as compile time polymorphism. Hence we will focus on runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism मतलब compiling के time पे whenever we are overloading a static method, overloading a static method, this is the only example of compile time polymorphism. So it is having very limited scope, but as a programmer we need to focus more on runtime polymorphism. So what is runtime polymorphism? We'll go. So runtime polymorphism can be done by us as a programmer. So runtime polymorphism, we also call it as dynamic method dispatch. This is alternate name given to the runtime polymorphism. Now what is exactly it is? Now it is a process in which a call of an overridden method is resolved by runtime rather than compile time. So whenever we are using this one, no one is there, okay. So whenever you are working with it, it is a process in which, again I'm saying that it is a process in which a call when a call to an overridden method is resolved at runtime rather than a compile time is called as polymorphism. For example, in this process whenever overriding method is called through the reference variable of a superclass, then the determination of this method to call is based on object base reference, and by the reference variable it is been treated as a dynamic. We'll have an example that will be understanding how this you can understand the runtime polymorphism. But whenever you are working with the runtime polymorphism, it is done with the overridden. method only, override method, and we are using the super classes and subclass concept into this one. So if a reference variable of a parent class refer to the object of the class, it is called as upcasting. For example, this is a concept being used in runtime polymorphism. Upcasting matlab kya? If the reference variable of parent class refers to the object of the child class is called as upcasting. So for example, you just sit a reference variable of the parent class, whenever it is referring to the object of the child class, we call it is an upcasting. Okay, so reference variable of example, I will be showing you how this is upcasting been done. Okay, so uh, we are creating a class called as a, that is parent class. Then this a class is been inherited into child class called as a b class. Okay, now here I am creating the object of the class b, taking the reference of class a. Taking the reference of class a is called as upcasting. Is it clear to everybody? See, I am creating the object of the upper class with taking the reference of the lower class is called as upcasting. The same is been represented over here. Taking a reference of the parent class, matlab what is the parent class? A. This is the reference object, and how it is being created with taking the references from the child class, that is using new keyword. You are creating the object of the b and you are passing that object to the class a type is called as upcasting. Are you clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now what is for upcasting? We can use the reference variable of the class type based on the interface also. For example, one more example. Now see, this is interface I. We have not gone into interfaces. This will be the upcoming chapter. But ध्यान में रखो, जैसा class होता है उस तरीके से interface भी होता है. But there are some changes and some rules whenever we are creating any interface. So assume करो this, there is I interface and there is A class. So these are separate. We are going for multiple inheritance. Matlab we will be inheriting the A features also, and we will be inheriting the features of I also into the class B. The relationship is here is very simple. अब ये relationship कैसे होंगी? B is a, यानी this is a relationship. So is a relationship. B is a child of A. B is a child of I, because it has inherited the features of both the classes, so that's why it is a child of a, it is a child of I. And one more thing is that b is a object. Now b is a object, so that is what we call as a reference variable. So example for runtime polymorphism, we'll go for example of runtime polymorphism, how it has been done. So see, we have created one class called as a bike, and there is a one function called as run. Okay, now I am inheriting the class bike into the child class called as a splendor. Okay, splendor. So now these features will be added into the my splendor function. Now again I am using function overriding. Overriding मतलब क्या? Parent class के function को फिर से reuse कर रहे हम हमारे child class के अंदर. Now I am creating object like this one. Now see, I am creating object like this one. This is what? Child class, and this is what? Parent class. So parent class I am denoting it with the yellow color, child class I am denoting with the cyan color. So if I am creating the object like B, considering the super class and creating the reference to the super class and creating the object of the subclass, that is splendor, the technique is called as upcasting. And now I am using this b dot run function. So what will be the output then? Will it run this?
Running safely with 60K.
Okay, how it will be running? Now see, I have created the object of class splendor. Matlab kya? All features of splendors are added into my variable called as a b. And if I am saying b dot run, it will never go for the upper class. It will be referring to me for the child class only. So I will be getting output of this one, that is run safely with 60 kilometer. This is the output. Okay, this is, we called it as what? Runtime polymorphism. Okay, runtime polymorphism, getting reference from two different classes, creating the object in another way. This is called as a runtime polymorphism. Are you clear with this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One more
Yes,
example.
sir.
One more example of bank. We have seen already this example of bank, but again with separate different features. Okay. So we have a parent class called as a bank, but we have three childs now: SBI, ICICI, and Axis Bank. And there is one function called as get rate of interest. And get rate of interest of each bank will be different. For SBI it will be 8.4, for ICICI it will be 7.3, and for Axis Bank it will be 9.7. Okay, now I will be creating this class. Okay, bank class. This is parent class, and there are three child classes now. Now this is bank. I have used this bank into three different ways. That is, the parent is been inherited into the three different classes. So first class, that is SBI inherited from B, ICICI inherited from bank, Axis inherited from bank, and each one is having separate rate of interest, and all as having the same name of function. जो function का नाम super में get rate interest, वही नाम हमने SBI में भी यूज़ किया, ICICI में भी यूज़ किया, और Axis में भी यूज़ किया. Now I am going for polymorphism. Okay, now this is bank B, this is parent class, and this is SBI child. Okay, so whenever I am using this one object, so what will be the output of this one if I am saying B dot get interest rate of SBI? What will be the output? Will it be 0 or will it be 8.4 now? Can anyone tell?
8.4.
Okay, 8 point.
8.4, sir.
Okay, I will say this as an 8.4. What about next one? Axis Bank 9.7 or 0?
9.7.
Okay, 9.7. Okay, 9.7. And what about the third one? By default it will be, sorry, 8.4 is for, sorry, okay. So this will be for ICICI, it will be 8.4. SBI it will be 8.4, sorry, 8 for 8. This one, first I'm copying. This will be for SBI, and this will be for your ICICI, and this will be for your Axis Bank. What is Axis Bank? It is 9.7. And what is this one? 7.3. So 7.3 and 9.7. Okay, for Axis 9.7. So we'll get the same output. Okay, so SBI will be 8.4, and ICICI will be 7.3 and 9.7. This is called as a runtime polymorphism. Technique is somewhat different. ध्यान में रखो, we are using the super class. We are creating the object of super class, taking the reference of the subclass, is called as runtime polymorphism. Yes, is it clear to everybody? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you
Yes,
can
sir.
try this for the shape also. Super class is shape, and you have inherited into different, like into your circle also, into your triangle also, and into your rectangle also, and you will find it with the same output. Okay, so this is just for a practice. You go into this one also, no issue about that. Super class inherited into three different classes: rectangle, circle, and triangle, and you will be accessing this using the runtime polymorphism. Superclass creating object of the child class, and you just use this draw function, but it should be function overriding. मतलब सब तरफ वही नाम चाहिए function का, then only it will be going for function reference, what you call as runtime polymorphism. Are you clear with this one? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
One more
Yes.
example you can do with animal also. We have already done. You can do with animal also. Inherit the animal classes into three different classes, that is cat, lion, and dog, and you just test the polymorphism, you will get an output. No issue about this. Is just for your examples. Okay, 2 3 examples for your demonstration. You can try it. Okay, now we'll move for the another concept, that is Java runtime polymorphism with data members. Okay, data members मतलब क्या? Data variables. Can we use this variable reuse multiple times with runtime polymorphism? Yes, we can do this. So example I want to give it. जैसे हमने फंक्शन को, जैसे ये ईट फंक्शन, या फिर ऊपर वाले एग्जाम्पल में ड्रॉ फंक्शन, ऊपर वाले एग्जाम्पल में जैसे हमने गेट इंटरेस्ट रेट नाम का फंक्शन, जैसे हमने रन टाइम पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म ने यूज़ किया, क्या हम वेरिएबल्स को यूज़ कर सकते हैं क्या? ये हमारा क्वेश्चन है. सो जावा रन टाइम पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म विद डेटा मेंबर्स, दिस इज द कंसेप्ट. and the method is overridden, not the data types. So the runtime polymorphism cannot achieve a data members. So in this example, you will get a below example. We'll have an example like this one example. With rather than explaining into a theoretical part, I think it is more precise to go for examples now. Okay, so now I have created a class bike. There is one more variable called as a limit. I have inherited this bike into my class called as a Honda. Honda will be inheriting the features. मतलब क्या इसके अंदर का वेरिएबल ये हम इसको यहाँ पर यूज़ कर सकते हैं. ओके, सो दिस इज द स्पीड लिमिट variable of bike, and this is speed limit variable of my Honda. And whenever I am creating the super class object taking the help of the child class, so if I go for object dot speed limit, so the output will not be this one. The output will not be this one. You cannot refer to the child class variable using runtime polymorphism. जो हम function में करते थे वो हम variable के साथ नहीं कर सकते. अगर हमने बोला output will be 150, it will not be there. The output will be 90 because this variable, this will be referring to the object not of the Honda but of the class bike. So हमें output में 90 दिखाई देगा जो unpredictable था, because if you are thinking about the methods like this one, it will be showing, it will be executing the eat of the child function. The child functions are executed, but as far as the variable is concerned, the variable will be accessing the values of the super class. Is it clear to everybody the basic differences between the runtime polymorphism of the method and runtime polymorphism of variable? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now we can do this. We have already gone into this one. That is runtime polymorphism with multi-level inheritance. Multi-level मतलब क्या? एक के नीचे दूसरा, दूसरे के नीचे तीसरा. मतलब क्या? Here we have animal as a parent class. Now this animal class is inherited into the class called as a dog. Okay, into the class called as a dog. Now this dog is again inherited into a child class called as baby dog. So okay, so this is baby dog, that is having the features of dog. Dog is having the features of animals. मतलब क्या, baby dog will be having this also, will be this also, and ये खुद का भी functionality उसके अंदर होंगे. And when I go for creating object like this animal, which is the parent class, which is the parent class, and I am creating three objects, a1, a2, a3. a1 I am creating the object of animal. Okay, a1 is the creating the object of animal. One second, I'm just moving to the next line. Okay, now c1, if a1 I am creating object of animal, this is the parent class. Now a2 I am creating the object of dog, yellow, and a3 I am creating object of the super, सबसे छोटा वाला, that is baby dog, that is the child of all this one. Okay, and if I am saying a dot eat, a2 dot eat, a3 dot eat, can anyone tell me what will the output of this a1 dot animal?
Eating.
Eating. Okay, eating. What will be the second output then? a2 dot eat,
Eating food.
eating fruit. Okay, and what about third one then?
Drink.
Drinking milk.
Okay, drinking milk. So the output will be like this only. Yes, now I think everyone is getting now what is runtime polymorphism. Are you clear with this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Everyone
Yes,
is
sir.
clear? No doubts?
Yes, sir.
No questions? Okay,
Yes.
very good. We'll move further now. Static binding and dynamic binding now. Static binding and dynamic binding. These are the two important concepts you have to keep in mind whenever you are binding something into your programming. Now what is exactly binding? Now connecting a method call to the method body is called as a binding. This is a definition you better keep in mind. Connecting a method call to the method body is called as a binding. And there are two types of binding being done into Java. One is called as a static binding. We also know it as early binding, यानी start में protect प्रोग्राम कंपाइल होने से पहले जो बाइंडिंग होती है कॉल्ड एज अर्ली बाइंडिंग, एंड वन इज कॉल्ड एज डायनेमिक एट द विच इज कॉल्ड एज लेट बाइंडिंग, मतलब रेन टाइम में होती है. सो स्टैटिक बाइंडिंग व्हेन अ टाइप ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट इज डिटरमाइंड टू complete time this is called as, that is determined at the compile time. ध्यान में रखना है, static binding मतलब जिसको हम early binding मतलब क्या, the binding which has been identified or determined at the compile time is called as a static binding, and type of binding which is determined at the runtime, actually whenever we are executing the program, if it is we are doing binding, then it is called as a dynamic binding. Okay, so compile time binding is called as a static binding, and after compilation runtime whenever you are doing binding, it is called as dynamic binding. So these are the two type of binding. And what is binding? Binding is nothing but a connecting a method call to a method body. Connecting a method call to a method body is nothing but a binding. Okay, shall we move further now?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how to now
Yes,
understanding
sir.
a type. Let's understand. Now variable has a type, everyone knows. Variable has a type matlab kya? We are declaring the variable, that is date, and this is nothing but the data type. This is integer. Now each variable has a type. It can be primitive or it can be non-primitive. ये नाम मैंने सुना होगा. Now what is this integer? Is it a primitive or it is non-primitive?
Primitive.
It is primitive.
Primitive.
Primitive मतलब क्या? It will be occupying the space as soon as it is declared. It will be occupying the space into your RAM as soon as it is being created. You will be knowing this concept into operating system, because primitive data type are dangerous. It will be occupied. And what is reference type? Now see, reference type मतलब क्या? I am creating the doc class, and now this doc class, the variable I have declared. Variable I have declared. This is class doc, and I have declared one variable just like this int date. Same way, this is class and this is the variable of the class. This h1 is type of doc. Now this is called as a reference type. Reference have a type. Okay, this is, ये ऊपर वाले को क्या बोलते हैं? Variable have a type. इसको हम बोलते हैं reference have a type. So we are referring to what? We are referring to the class with some data type of that class. It is called as reference with type. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now third one, object with type. ये third category है, object with type. Object with type मतलब क्या? I have created one class called as animal, and I have inherited that class into dog, and I have created the object of the class dog using this keyword, that is new dog. Now this d1 is ready. I move further. This is nothing but you have created the object, because इसके अंदर देखो new keyword नहीं, this is just a declaration dog d1, but you have not used the new keyword. As soon as you start using new keyword, you are referring, that means you have created the object. If this is, then you have not created the object, you have just declared the object, but the object is not created. Here we have created the object by using the new keyword. This is called as an object have a type. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
नाउ स्टैटिक बाइंडिंग, जैसे हमने बोला कि ये दो तरीके की बाइंडिंग होती है, एक होती है स्टैटिक, एक होती है डायनेमिक. तो हम थोड़ा डिटेल में जाएंगे. व्हाट इज स्टैटिक बाइंडिंग? सो व्हेन अ टाइप ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट इज डिटरमाइंड एट कंपाइल टाइम, कंपाइल टाइम के टाइम पे ही बाइंडिंग अगर होती है, it is called by the compiler is known as static binding. मतलब क्या? Whenever object is determined at the compile time is called as static binding. If there is no private, final or static method in the class, there is a static binding. Rule, keep in mind, if there is any private, final or static method in a class, method फिर से बता रहा हूँ, if there is private, final or static method in a class, then there is a binding called as static binding. Are you clear with this one? Any method who is private or final or static, then this method, or we call it as static binding. Otherwise we will not call it static binding, we call it as dynamic binding. Is it clear to everybody? In this example, we have created a class dog, and it is having a function called as eat, and if I am adding the keyword like private or static or final, it means I have implemented the phenomena called as static binding. Are you clear with this one? What is static binding now? Any method
Yes,
who is
sir.
declared with keyword like private, final or static method is called as static binding. That is, we are implementing a static binding. Yes or no? Yes, everyone is clear
Yes.
with this? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And what is dynamic binding? Again, a definition. What is dynamic binding? When a type of object is determined at the runtime is called as dynamic binding. यानी runtime में जैसे we have created this class animal with function called as eat. We have implemented this class animal into the dog with same name eat it. I am creating the object superclass object taking the help of subclass. A is the name of the object and we are calling the eat function. This will be executing the dog. इस पार्ट को एग्जीक्यूट करेंगे, हमने देखा है वो. नाउ दिस टाइप ऑफ बाइंडिंग इज कॉल्ड एज डायनेमिक बाइंडिंग. मतलब रन टाइम में आप एक अलग कैटेगरी के ऑब्जेक्ट को दूसरे यानी सुपर क्लास के ऑब्जेक्ट को सब क्लास के फंक्शन के साथ इंटीग्रेट कर रहे. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज अ डायनेमिक बाइंडिंग. आर यू क्लियर विद दिस और नॉट? Are
Yes,
you
sir.
clear with this or not? Will you getting an output like this? Dog is eating. We are getting this one. Dog is eating. Are you clear with this example or not? What is dynamic banding? Yes or no?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And this how we have completed with the dynamic, static and dynamic banding. Okay. So I am expecting in today's session, as you are aware that one of the colleague has lost her mother. तो आज के दोपहर के lab session को I will not be available. I am expecting you all should complete all the assignments. I am sharing one more sheet with you now. और एक Excel sheet मैं आपके साथ share करूँगा. And into that you have to put how many assignments you have completed. How many? Today I will be sharing two sheets. One will be for attendance of yesterday and today, and second one will be the list of programs you have completed up till date. And from today's onwards, you will be updating what all new things, how many programs you have executed and you have written into your 200 pages notebook. I will be expecting that daily you should update it. Okay. So shall we stop for
Yes,
the
sir.
day?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
So have a good day. And we'll meet tomorrow with the remaining part of the content. Is it the speed slow or is it okay for everybody? सबको